Hi there, my name is Femi Olade and welcome to the conversation with PFlow. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about something that I believe is extremely important in this current economic environment. It's going to be a 2-episode series titled Career and Personal Development. I'm going to set a few foundational points that I want you to ponder your mind on, and then we'll talk about this as we go on. You know, the first thing I've realized in my career is that the building blocks for my career started out from my first job. The very first time I decided as a young kid that I was going to become a chartered accountant, everything that I did thereafter was based on that foundation. And that foundation is an extremely important part of how life pans out. People always think that you can choose whatever outcomes are going to happen to you in life. I tend to disagree. I believe that when we are formed in our early years, there are certain things that contribute to who we become. I'm an accountant today simply because my father was one, and simply because from when I was a young kid, my parents always, said to me that I was born to be an accountant. And I started to love the career. Now, yes, my father was one and I loved what he was doing, but what really drove me to become an accountant was the environment that I grew up in. I found a supportive environment in my family that was able to help me achieve my dreams. So I qualified as a chartered accountant before my 17th birthday. And yes, sounds remarkable, but the only reason why I was able to accomplish that was because I had a father who was invested in my education. And I think that if you look at that from a holistic perspective, I say that nature and nurture are part of the biggest contributors to who we become. So some people start out their careers going to school. I mean, unfortunately, if you were born in Nigeria and you've gone through the Nigerian educational system, choices are made for you on your behalf, depending on what scores you get in JAMB. So I know a friend of mine who wanted to become a medical doctor. Today is a HR consultant. Why? Because she couldn't get into medicine after writing JAMB 2 times, and she decided to take whatever offer that the university gave to her. So you can imagine that someone who started out her life wanting to be a medical doctor, time and chance happened to her, and she had to settle for being a biochemist. And from a biochemist, she became an HR consultant. Now, what am I saying to you? In that there are certain building blocks that are important in who you become when it comes to your career. And those building blocks are extremely relevant into how your life pans out. So I'm asking you, and I'm hoping that you are lucky enough to have been born into a home where education was valued and where your career choices were driven by people who were invested in your life. But it's not everyone who has been blessed with that. Not everyone had the same type of start where from primary school to secondary school, there was somebody invested in their education. But that doesn't mean that person doesn't have any hope. So I say that no matter where you have gotten to, today is always a good time to start again. That even if you've gone in a different route, today is a good time to start again. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 very interesting things happen around me. One of my older brothers, who I call an Egbon, got a PhD in the US. And it was quite interesting because when he was in Nigeria, he was considered an average person, an average student. In fact, I remember that he had to write WAEC a few times and had to go to remedial school. But today, at about age 55, he now has a PhD. Now, what does that mean? It means that it is never too late for you to take a decision that can change your trajectory in life. Now, I started this by setting the tone. So the first thing that you need to be able to get a career path that is life-changing is you must grow up in the right environment. Again, I reiterate this. The right environment is important, but it's not essential, because it means that there are people who grow up in the wrong environment who can still turn their lives around. And the second thing is that you must have the right upbringing and mentoring. Who are your mentors? Who are the people you look up to? Who are the people that help you shape your thoughts and your ideas from your early stage in life? Look, a lot of people do not have anyone who they look up to. They have no mentors in their early life. If you are living in a country like Nigeria, it's even probably worse for you now. When we were growing up, the mentors who we had were people who were successful in business, people who were successful in careers. But today, unfortunately, the mentors our current generation have are probably musicians and Yahoo boys. Now, that doesn't mean that because those are the mentors that are available, that your life is meaningless. I am not a musician, and neither am I a Yahoo boy. And I think I mentor a few people whose lives have turned out perfectly. So the third point here is that you must have the right support system and values. Now, this is extremely important. Even if you've missed out on number 1 and 2, number 3 is always important, because the support system are the ones who help you make the right decisions when it's time for you to make a decision. I remember when I was going to when I left working with my father and I was going to move to another organization, I had an opportunity to work with 2 organizations. One was a multinational and the second was a startup. And I was spoiled for choice. The multinational was offering me a lot more money than the startup was offering me. So I went to my father, who at that time was my support system and my mentor. And I gave him the options and I said, look, this is what I have to do. These are the choices that I have. And my father said to me, go and work with the startup. I thought, what does it mean? He says, because you would get the opportunity to learn a lot more. And I look back at my career today and I say, probably the best advice that I had in my life was my father telling me to join that organization. So I joined ARM in 1995 as probably one of the pioneer staff. And I have no regrets for taking that particular path in my career, because it gave me an opportunity to get an introduction into the finance space in Nigeria and to become the professional that I am today. So having those are very, very important. Other part of this third kernel is your values. Your values are the filters through which you make decisions through. What are your values? Your values are the things that allow you to decide, what path should I take? When somebody makes you an offer, how do you filter through that offer? Through a system of beliefs that allows you to make the right decision. If you have the wrong values, the tendency is you're going to make a wrong decision in your career. Now, understand this. Not everyone is privileged enough to have these 3 kernels that I've talked about. They're like the 3-part kernel that are supposed to hold things together. But not everyone is privileged enough to have them. But the truth is that it shouldn't change your trajectory in life. It might slow down your trajectory, but the moment you come into the consciousness that these things are not supposed to be a bus stop, but they're supposed to be a transit point, then it becomes easier for you to make the right decisions. Do not allow anyone tell you that your life is over until it is over. And trust me, I'm not doing emotional speak cliches here. I'm telling you the truth, that even the last minute of a race can still be won. We're currently rounding off the Olympics, or just finished the Olympics, and you will have seen people who have been running. Some guy starts up a race doing the 5,000 meters and he was probably 20-30 meters behind, and as the race gets to the last lap, he gets a kick of energy and boom, he wins the race. And sometimes that's how the race of life is. So don't consider yourself disadvantaged because you don't have those 3 kernels, but they're important that if you want to actually grow. Now, one principle I also want you to realize is that you must never, ever use other people as the benchmark for your measurement of your success. Now, I know that's not the way you've been trained. You were trained to decide who came first, second, third when you were in school. But I'm trying to change that mindset that your only competition should be you. Because you're running your own race. Everyone is running theirs. The fact that somebody started ahead of me doesn't mean he's going to win. He may not have my endurance. He may not have the speed that I have. So he might have gone ahead 100 meters. If I am using Bolt, we're going to run today. If he gave me a 50-meter gap, trust me, he will catch me before the 100-meter race. Because actually I'm quite lazy when it comes to running. But if you understand what I mean, the principle here is that when you start your life out, somebody else might still be sleeping, but that doesn't mean you're going to win. That doesn't mean you're the person who's going to overcome. And that's why the Bible says to us that the race is not to the swift, because time and chance does happen to people. And if you take control of time and chance, then you've taken control of your life. Now, running your own race is actually very, very important, because it means that you are not measuring your success or failure by the standards and the circumstances of others. Because a lot of people do that. You know, they say, oh, but Femi has done much better than me. Why is my circumstance different? You don't have the same destiny as Femi. You don't have the same environment where Femi has grown up. You don't have the same advantages as Femi has. But what should matter is that on the path that you have set for yourself, are you on the right trajectory? Now, if you are on the right trajectory, then you are sure that eventually that you're going to win. Now, you know, as we talk about these things, it's important that you start to ponder them. Now, let's start about career. When you're going to choose a career and you're going to choose the path that you want to say, this is the path that I'm going to go to. One of the things that they say to you is that you should focus on your passions. I want to tell you something today. It's a lie. Your passions are not going to feed you. My passion today is music. But trust me, if I was going to use music to eat, there are probably 20 million other people that can play music better than me. So I have no competitive advantage. But what I focus on is what I'm good at. So I'm very good at numbers. I remember numbers from 20 years ago. If I see a number that I've seen once before, I can recognize it and I can tell you a story about that number. Guess what? Somebody could have said to me, oh, your passion is music. Go and try and become a musician. And trust me, I'll probably have released 300 albums and nobody would have heard it. But guess what? My passion is numbers. I focused on the numbers. I became very good at it. I'm probably, I say it with humility, I'm probably one of the most respected investment bankers in Nigeria today. Why? Because I did not follow a passion. I followed what I was good at. So what I'm saying to you is, in building out your career, focus on what you're good at. Focus on what is effortless for you, that your energy levels just light up once you're in that position. That is one of the things that you must do. The second thing you need to do here is focus on your temperament. You're an introvert, but you want to be a salesperson. You only want to be at home every Sunday, Monday to Friday. You would rather just stay in the office and stay at the computer, but you want to become the head of sales. Bro, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. Sister, you're going to get into a lot of trouble simply because your personality and the career path that you're looking at, they're incompatible. You want to play in the entertainment space, but you're shy. How can that work? So you find out that people who have those incompatibilities, what they do is that they rely on external sources to give them the confidence. So you see them go into drugs, you see them go into stimulants, simply because that's the only way they can build your confidence. Do not let anyone pressure you where your personality and the career path that you're choosing are not the same and you feel that you're going to succeed. Let me tell you this interesting story. It's my daughter. She wanted to become a medical doctor at some point, but she couldn't stand the sight of blood. In fact, if she saw a mosquito, she was going to throw a major tantrum. And I kept saying to her that you can't be a medical doctor whilst you can't see blood. You must be comfortable around blood. Actually, you're going to be dealing with cadavers. So if your personality cannot actually see blood, then you can't actually become a medical doctor. Of course, right now she's studying to become a lawyer. Just making you understand that if your personality is not taken into consideration, you are probably going to end up in a career that's completely incompatible with the person who you are. Now, third thing I want you to focus on is what motivates you. How do you motivate yourself? What motivates you? So at some point in my career, I thought money was a motivator. But I learned very quickly that actually money doesn't motivate. What that money does is that it excites you, but it doesn't motivate you. So you make money, you're so excited, but that doesn't mean you're going to be excited to wake up and go to the same job tomorrow. What money does, it just helps you meet a need. But when you find what motivates you, so for someone like me, what I found when I found investment banking as a career, what I found motivated me was my wins. When I saw a client who I worked with become successful, I found out that I had a lot of energy. It excited me a lot. So I knew that investment banking was a role where I could thrive because I was adding value to people's lives and I could see the immediate benefit of those value adds. So it's very, very important that you focus on that part of your career where you're able to say, what motivates me? Now, the final point that I want you to think about when you're trying to define your career is, how do you measure success? So a lot of people measure success in different ways. Some people measure success in monetary terms. Some people measure success in economic terms. Some measure it by the level of impact that they've had in people's lives. If you measure success in monetary terms, you can't go and work in an NGO. I mean, it's counterintuitive. If you measure success in impacting people's lives, then you know that an NGO is a good place for you to work. It's a kind of career that you should be looking to build. If you measure success in monetary terms, you should go and become an accountant or a lawyer or an investment banker in places where you can actually become wealthy. So it's important that you understand the principles behind which you measure success. Once it's clear in your mind how you measure success, it becomes easier for you to be able to decide what career paths that you should take. So summing all of this up, it's very simple for me in my mind. Understand that where you are today is not really necessarily a determinant of how your future is going to turn out. There's so many variables that can change that. But one thing that is very important that you must remember, like I said to you earlier on today, is that you must be very clear on where you are and understanding that that point is only a transient point to where you're going to. So it's never too late to start again. It's never too late to change your career path if it doesn't fit with your personality. It's never too late for you to change your career path if it does not fit with your measurements of success. It's never too late for you to change your career path if it doesn't fit with the way you want to earn a living. It is important that there is a coagulation, a connection between who you are and what you're doing. If your personality is not consistent or compatible with the career path that you're playing, bro, you're going to struggle. And sister, you're going to struggle. So I'm going to leave you with this as a round off today. Next week when we're speaking, we'll be talking about specific skills that you need at different parts of your career. But today, I want you to focus on this. Look at your environment. Look at the environment you're building for your family. Look at the environment you're building for those who are around you, and understand that that environment is a determinant of how their lives may turn out. But one thing that you must do today, especially for parents who are listening to me, is start to cultivate the right values in your children. When your children have the right values, they will make career choices that are consistent with their values. I want you to go, this week, just having that at the back of your mind. By the time we come back next week, I'm sure we're going to have a more interesting conversation. Like I always say, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, you can see the scrolling screen below here. My email address is there and my social media contacts are there. Follow me and let's talk about this. My name is Femi Olade and you've just had the conversation with PFlow. I'll see you next week. God bless you.